Coming up on Arirang News, it's a record-breaking day for Wall Street. The Dow Jones closing above 30,000 points for the first time. A new all-time high for the S&P as well, on hopes for a coronavirus vaccine and political stability in the U.S. Joe Biden starts getting official intelligence briefings as the apparent next president of the United States. That's considered a key part of the transition to a new administration. And the K-pop megastars BTS become the first K-pop artist to be nominated for a Grammy in the category of Best Pop Duo or Group for the English-language song Dynamite. It's 5 o'clock p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for tuning in to Arirang News. I'm Devin Whiting. The White House has given approval for Joe Biden to receive daily intelligence briefings as the apparent president-elect. And as Biden prepares to take over, he's announcing his picks for the cabinet. Kim Yeon-sung has the details.
The Biden transition officially begins. The White House on Tuesday finally signed off on President-elect Joe Biden receiving daily intelligence briefings. Biden will now be privy to classified intelligence reports regarding national security threats. This step is considered an integral part of a government's transition. The White House and the General Services Administration, the U.S. agency responsible for aiding the government transition, had been putting off granting access to Biden to these briefings for almost 3 weeks. But following the GSA's ascertainment of Biden on Monday, White House doors are opening up one by one.
They've been very forthcoming, offering all access, and so we're going to be starting those on a regular basis.
Good afternoon. As Biden prepares for his move to the White House, he also announced on Tuesday his cabinet picks. With Anthony Blinken as Secretary of State, Alejandro Mayorkas as Secretary of Homeland Security, and Jake Sullivan as National Security Advisor, the Biden administration fully intends the U.S. to take back the global leadership role.
The team meets this moment, this team behind me. They embody my core beliefs that America is strongest when it works with its allies.
Kim Yeon-sung, Arirang News.
It's been a great run for the South Korean boy band BTS this year. They've won honors at the Billboard Music Awards and the MTV Music Video Awards, and now they've been nominated for their first ever Grammy. Kim Do-yeon reports.
One Day, Dynamite by BTS.
Yet another moment of history-making for the global sensation BTS, as the group is nominated for a Grammy in the category of Best Pop Duo Group Performance for their hit English single Dynamite. This is their first proper nomination at the renowned American Awards, becoming the first K-pop artists to make the shortlist. Although they have already been recognized at other major US music awards, the Billboard Music Awards and the MTV Video Music Awards. The announcement was made Tuesday local time, and for the members, it was long-awaited news.
다음 목표나 골이 뭐냐 이렇게 질문들을 해주셨을 때 늘 언급하던 거 중에 하나였어서 저희도 굉장히 사실은 긴장하고 기대하면서 25일을 기다리고 있습니다.
International media outlets such as AP and Reuters reacted to what they called a breakthrough. And Billboard went further, claiming the Recording Academy, which hosts the awards, has finally recognized the cultural shift in a major category. The Grammy Awards will be held on January 31st, and the band will be competing against the likes of Justin Bieber, Lady Gaga, and Taylor Swift for the prize. This isn't the first time the group will be at the ceremony, however. They were the first K-pop group to present an award in 2019, and the following year they performed Old Town Road alongside then nominee Lil Nas X. With the Grammys' official cutoff for the 2021 awards already passed on August 31st, the ARMY, their die-hard fan base, will be eyeing the 2022 Album of the Year nomination with the group's new album, B. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
U.S. stocks surged to a new all-time high on Tuesday on hopes for a smooth transition between administrations and on anticipation for the start of vaccinations against COVID-19. The Dow closed above 30,000 for the first time. Kim Jae-hee has the details.
Stocks on Wall Street rallied Tuesday on rising expectations for a smooth transition to the White House for U.S. President-elect Joe Biden, and also on news that Biden wants former Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen as his Treasury Secretary. Investors were also encouraged by hopes that the COVID-19 vaccines in development will bring an end to the pandemic and open the path to a swift economic rebound. The Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped more than 1.5% to end at about 30,046, the first time it's closed higher than 30,000. The S&P 500 rose by around 1.6% to more than 3,635, also a record high. The tech-heavy Nasdaq rose by around 1.3% to finish above 12,036.
So I think people like the cabinet posts we're seeing from Biden. They like the idea that the sort of long period of uncertainty about how much difficulty we'd see an outgoing Trump administration make. I think people like that that's over. I think people like Janet Yellen as an idea for a new Treasury Secretary.
They're looking to the likelihood of vaccines becoming widely available in 2021 and how that might potentially bring about a return to normalcy.
President Trump on Tuesday held a historic market rally and appeared to take credit for it.
The stock market's just broken 30,000. Never been broken, that number. That's a sacred number, 30,000. Nobody thought they'd ever see it. That's the 9th time since the beginning of 2020. And it's the 48th time that we've broken records during the Trump administration.
In South Korea, stocks started out higher Wednesday on retail buying, hopes for a vaccine, and the record-breaking day on Wall Street. But both main indices turned negative in the afternoon on net selling by institutions. The benchmark Kospi finished at around 2,601, down about 0.6%. The Kosdaq closed 0.8% lower at around 865. The Kospi had closed on Monday above the 2,600 mark for the first time and then reached a new all-time high on Tuesday. Kim Jae-hee, Arirang News.
Time now for an in-depth look at the market news this afternoon, and for that I'm joined on the line by Dr. Yang Jun-seok, Professor of Economics at the Catholic University of Korea. Professor Yang, good to have you back on.
Happy to be here.
Well, as we were just hearing, the Dow crossing 30,000 for the first time there on Tuesday. What's the story in the global markets?
Okay, well, let's start with the U.S. You just reported the good news that they had in the last couple of days, but it's actually been a fairly good month overall. The Dow has went up 13% for the month. This is the biggest monthly gain since 1987. S&P, 11.2%. Nasdaq went up by 10.3% during November. So again, these are very good figures. It hasn't gone up this much since April for S&P and Nasdaq. And perhaps what's a bit surprising news is that value stocks are making a comeback. A lot of people have been concerned that value stocks were not pulling its weight. If you compare growth stocks and value stocks, then for the last few years, growth stocks have been vastly outdoing the value stocks, and a lot of value stock investors had lost hope. But in the last few days, the value stocks seem to be making a comeback. In the European market, they mostly scored positive. FTSE, CAC, and DAX, they all rose more than 1%. They seem to be very optimistic about the U.S. economy and the new administration as well. Asian markets were a bit mixed. Nikkei went up by 0.50%. They have been going down lately because their coronavirus situation has been getting worse, but they seem to be turned around today. And Hong Kong, again, it was usually negative in the last few days or weeks, but it went up today by 0.18%. It's actually China, which has fell somewhat, minus 1.19%. They seem to be Hong Kong and China seem to be moving sort of against each other in the last few days. Generally, the global stock market seems to be happy about reducing uncertainty about the U.S. presidential election. They seem to like Biden and his choices for cabinet members and what's revealed about his policies. And there's more and more hope for the coronavirus vaccine, and I think that is showing up in the positive numbers. But they're also waiting to see what the Fed FOMC will do when they meet in December 15th and 16th.
Well, here in Korea, the Kospi was coming off of an all-time high, and it looked like it might post another gain, but the market reversed course earlier this afternoon, closed lower. What happened in the Korean markets?
Okay, well, it did start off very well, as also noted in the last story, but around 2 o'clock, things started to go to a negative direction. It seems that the institutions are profit-taking, whereas individuals and foreigners are still buying stocks. And the future, at least for the short term, does look relatively bright. The new vaccines, clarification about the U.S. elections, more optimistic Korean indicators that are coming out recently. Those are making the market, Kospi market, somewhat optimistic. Based on past experience, if the global markets are calm, then foreigners are likely to buy more Korean stocks. So in general, Kospi market is looking very good. Kosdaq, similar story with Kospi. It started out strong today, but it ended weak during the afternoon. Individuals bought Kosdaq stock, but institutions and foreigners sold. Kosdaq, which is more technology-oriented, they seem to be taking a hit in the last couple of weeks because of the vaccine news. When the vaccines are widely distributed, they expect the technology stocks to do not as well because, social distancing will be a thing of the past.
Well, we're almost out of time, Professor, but the Bank of Korea will be meeting soon to hold its last meeting of the year on interest rates, expected to keep the policy rate where it is near zero, but they're under a degree of pressure. What do you see coming out of this meeting?
Okay, well, the most important thing that's going to come out of this meeting is what do they think the next year's growth rate will be, and what will the Monetary Policy Committee members say about the state of the Korean economy, hope for next year, and how do they foresee the recession from the coronavirus, and how do they feel about the third emergency relief assistance payment that's being talked about in the National Assembly? What type of assistance would BOK prefer? Would they prefer a universal payment that goes for everybody or means tested? And how would they feel about increase in deficit and debt that this assistance would inevitably require?
All right, Professor, we'll have to leave it there for today. Thanks so much for sharing your insights.
Thank you.
Now, South Korea's population continues to shrink. In September, data show the number of deaths outnumbered births for an 11th month in a row. Births have declined on year now, every month for nearly 5 years straight. The pandemic also resulted in fewer people getting married. Min Soo-kyun reports.
The number of babies born in South Korea this September has fallen 2.2% from a year earlier. According to Statistics Korea, 23,566 babies were born in September. Although that figure is slightly up from the previous month, it's still the lowest for any month of September since data was first compiled in 1981. The number of births has been dipping year on year for 58 consecutive months. One mother says it's because of the cost of raising a child.
I love my kids, but actually it's not easy to raise children nowadays. So that's why I have just one. And I don't think I will be able to have another one.
Another reason for fewer babies is that more people are getting married later, so women are older when they first give birth.
The fall is attributed to a population decline in women in their 30s. The number of marriages has also continued to drop since 2012, which has raised the age of first-time mothers.
The number of marriages has been fairly low. In September, there were only 15,324 marriages, down 3% from a year earlier.
To overcome these problems of low birth and marriage rates, it's important to create a social environment to support childcare and families, whether it be in the form of more financial support or more policies.
Despite the country's efforts to increase the fertility rate, there have been more deaths than births for 11 straight months. More than 24,300 deaths were recorded in September, up 3.4% from the same month last year. Min Soo-kyun, Arirang News.
The city of Seoul and the police have launched a campaign to promote safety when riding electric scooters, ahead of a change in the law next month that'll allow anyone 13 or older to ride them. The city is reminding people that e-scooters should not be ridden on the sidewalk among pedestrians. They should stick to the right side of the road. And when parking a scooter, the city says not to leave it in a place where people are walking, but to take it to a designated parking zone. The campaign runs until December 10th, at which point the new rules will take effect, likely leading to more widespread use of scooters in Seoul. And that brings us to the end of this newscast. Thank you for watching. More live news coming your way at 7 p.m. Korea time.